Good morning. Haiti Oropesa for Florida U Judge. Thanks for tuning in. And today I am going to be interviewing a Hillsborough County Judicial Candidate. Jack Gutman is with me today in studio. Good morning, Jack. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great, and thanks for joining me this morning.
Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. You are running for a judicial seat. Is it a circuit seat or?
It's a county seat.
It's a county.
Hillsborough County Court Judge, Group 8.
Okay, and so tell us a little bit about yourself and your professional history so that the viewers, voters can get a little acquainted with you.
All right, well, I'm 56 years old. I've lived in Hillsborough County. I came here when I was 10 years old. I live in Lutz. I'm married for 26 years, have 2 adult children. When I got out of law school, I started with the Hillsborough State Attorney's Office and spent 12 years as a prosecutor, working my way up the, in the State Attorney's Office. When I left there at the end of 2000, I was the chief of a felony division. I have practiced law for 32 years. Probably equally divided, well, not equally, 15 years in criminal and 17 years as a civil trial lawyer. In the criminal context, like I said, I was a prosecutor for 12 and did criminal defense for 3 years. I also acted as a special public defender in Hillsborough County on conflict cases where the public defenders would have to conflict off of cases, and private attorneys would get appointed pursuant to a contract with Hillsborough County. Once I left the criminal arena, I went to the State Attorney General's office, worked my way up the ranks in the civil division. I was there for 5 years and was the deputy bureau chief in the civil division in charge of its eminent domain unit. I am also certified by the Florida Supreme Court as a circuit court civil mediator and have mediated in excess of 100 cases all over the state of Florida since 2006, mostly in the areas of both eminent domain and foreclosures. I am AV rated by Martindale-Hubbell. For those that don't know, Martindale-Hubbell is a peer review rating service that rates lawyers that apply to be rated. The AV rating is the highest rating that you can receive for both legal ability and ethical standards, and I'm proud to say that I have maintained that rating for the last 15 years. Most recently, for the past 5 years, I was with the Pasco County Attorney's Office as a senior assistant county attorney. I went up there 5 years ago to assist them with their eminent domain program. Pasco is a booming county for development, and their infrastructure needs a lot of work and improvement and addition. So up until 2 weeks ago, I was with Pasco County, and now I am just focusing on this campaign and finishing it out strong in November.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And so you have a real good appreciation for both prosecution work and defense work.
I've done both, and and civil. So my experience over the 32 years is not just doing one thing. In addition, I've done family law, I've done business litigation, I've done foreclosures. So regardless of where I would be in the court system, I've stood in the shoes of the attorneys that would be before me, and that I've practiced in so many different areas.
So let me ask you this. So it's just you and another candidate in this group. What do you think makes you the best choice?
I think, there's 3 pillars of my campaign. Number 1 is my experience, which I've gone into briefly. I've done many different things, and I've done them well. I am the only candidate in my race that's AV rated. As you would know, it is not easy to get that rating. It is peer review, and you're rated by other lawyers and judges. It's certainly not a popularity contest. And the ratings and the inquiries that are done are anonymous, so people don't hold back when they're rating you. So I have more. I've practiced longer, and I've done more things, and I've done them well, as evidenced by my peers, as well as my endorsements. I've been endorsed by 5 retired circuit court judges from Hillsborough County, and I say that because when you're looking at endorsements, Haiti, it's not the volume of your endorsements, it's the quality, and it has to be people that are in a position to gauge you, that know you, that know your legal ability, your professionalism, and your ethics. I've been endorsed by former Chief Judges Dennis Alvarez, who's retired now, Manny Menendez, Billy Fuente, Don Evans, and Judge Barbara Fleischer. These were all very well-respected circuit judges for many years in Hillsborough County, and I think the fact that they have chosen to endorse me, in addition to my legal ability, it talks to my integrity and my professionalism.
Talk to me about demeanor, and talk to me what the public should expect when they go in front of a judge. What should they expect from a judge?
Demeanor is very important. People need to know that when they go to court, they're going to be treated with dignity and respect, and that a judge will exercise patience with them so they can be heard. Because, the courts are the fabric of a healthy community. If people can't resolve their differences by going to court and know that they are being treated fairly and that their differences could be resolved with fairness, that it undermines the fabric of a healthy community. For Tampa and Hillsborough County to be a great community, you have to have judges that are not only smart and hardworking, but that have integrity and treat people with dignity and respect. Because if somebody can't come in and be heard fully and be treated with dignity and respect, then they walk out of there and they have no confidence in the judicial system because they think that they weren't treated fairly, and it just undermines the fabric of a healthy community. And like I said, I've worked in this community for 32 years. People know me. I think the most important endorsements I've received, mine endorsements are not political endorsements by people that barely know me. Mine are, like I said, retired judges, chief judges, that know how I am professionally. They know my temperament. I've been endorsed by 9 past presidents of the Hillsborough County Bar Association and 2 past presidents of the Florida Bar. And these are all people that I've dealt directly with, over the course of my career at different points. So I think those are meritorious endorsements, and they're meaningful, as opposed to getting, somebody just because they may have status and people know who they are, but that really have had either limited contact with you or barely know you.
Why do you want to be judge?
Being a judge is the highest honor that can be bestowed on a member of the bar, in my opinion. For me, of my 32 years, Haiti, I've done public service work in some fashion for 25 of them. And I've also been involved in the community with my community service work. The most meaningful work I did was the period of time where I worked with the state attorneys and did criminal defense work. And I say that because every day I was going to court. For 15 years I went to court every day. And at the end of the day, I was doing things that either made and touched people's lives, that made people's lives better, or made the community better in some fashion. Now, what I've done most recently for the last 17 years, eminent domain, where you're talking about public improvements and full and just compensation, that's important too. But most of those cases were resolved outside the context of the court system through mediations, and at the end of the day, they were mostly financial transactions. I want to get back to the grassroots of my career, dealing with real people, real life issues, and going to court every day and knowing that I'm improving the community or I'm improving people's lives in some fashion by giving them good judicial service and improving the respect for the judicial system, which helps the healthiness of the community as a whole.
Jack, thank you so much for joining me this morning. I am sure that the community, the voters, the public are going to be very appreciative of you coming on and addressing them and talking a little bit about your candidacy. I'm going to leave you with a couple of minutes to leave you with any last words that you'd like to address the voters with.
Well, yes, I would just like to talk a little bit about my community service, because you need to look at the reasons why somebody is running for a judge. Is a person running for a judge to serve themselves, or are they running for a judge to serve the community? You need to pick people that are running to serve the community, and you shouldn't have to guess on what the motivations are. You need to look at the person and what they've done in the community before they became a judge, other than their employment. In my case, I've been very involved in community service work and in different organizations, and I've done it prior to the time that I filed to become a candidate to be a judge. One of the organizations that I've been very involved in is the McDonald Training Center, which is it's an organization that's been in the Tampa Bay area for over 60 years. I've been on the board of directors since 2013, and I'm the immediate past chair of the McDonald Training Center. The mission of the McDonald Training Center is to empower people with disabilities to live the lives they choose. I've worked with individuals with developmental disabilities such as Down syndrome, autism, and the mission of the center is for years people with disabilities were basically discarded and not valued. They were put in institutions and group homes. And 60 years ago, J. Clifford McDonald started this organization to basically, he knew that people with disabilities, if they just had a little help getting some job skills and some life skills, were capable of leading meaningful lives. So this organization has been near and dear to me, and I've been involved in it since 2005. I've also served as a volunteer teen court judge in Hillsborough County in the teen court diversion program, working with the youth, trying to get them on the right track before they got too far into the court system. And the teen court diversion program is an early intervention program for minor offenses, and I was happy to participate that for a few years. I've also served on the Florida Bar Grievance Committee 13E, and I actually chaired that committee. I was on it for 3 years, and I investigated numerous claims of misconduct made by the public against members of the bar. And again, I did this knowing that as attorneys, you have to follow your ethics and your professionalism, because just like a judge, if a judge that doesn't follow the law or doesn't act professionally and with patience and temperament undermines confidence in the legal system, likewise, if attorneys violate their oath, then the public can't rely on the lawyers that they need to rely on to resolve their differences in a healthy, formal process. And I'm very proud to have served on that. I've also want to talk about my endorsements. Like I said, endorsements are important because it reflects how the community feels about you as on your professionalism, your legal ability, and your integrity. I've had several organizations. Our first responders have endorsed me. I've been endorsed by the West Central Florida PBA, the Tampa Police PBA. I've been endorsed by the Hillsborough County Local Firefighters Union and the City of Tampa Firefighters Union. I've been endorsed by the Tampa Bay Times, both in the primary and a few earlier this week for the general election. I've been endorsed by the Greater Tampa Bay Realtors. I received the endorsement of the MDF, which is to the Muslims for a Muslim pact, for fairness in the judicial system. So I have a whole blend of endorsements and groups across the board. So people have recognized that if I'm fortunate enough to win this election, that I'm going to be a judge that no matter who you are or what walk of life you come from, that you're going to have the benefit of knowing that you're going to go in front of a judge that's going to treat you fairly, and that is going to treat you with dignity and respect and patience. And that also applies not only to the litigants, but it's going to apply to the attorneys and all court personnel as well, whether it be court reporters, court clerks, and bailiffs.
Thanks again for coming on, Jack. Good luck with the race.
Thank you very much, Haiti. Thanks for having me.
Yes, it was a pleasure.